Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
Hi. Hey. What's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out.
Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
This portion of What's the LGBT is brought to you in part by Rosie's Cleaning Services. Rosie's Cleaning Services is your one-stop shop for all of your housekeeping and janitorial needs. Specializing in commercial, residential, move-in and move-out cleaning, B&B preparation, and more. Rosie's Cleaning Services is ready to tackle any job, big or small. They send 3 technicians per service and bill at a flat hourly rate. With a combined experience of over 20 years, Rosie's Cleaning Services is your only choice for professional, efficient, and superior cleaning services. To learn more, please text or call 702-767-1116 or email contact@rosiescleaninglv.com. This is Norman J. Liverpool IV from What's the LGBT, and you're tuned into Hot 702.5 in FM Sound. Be sure to catch us every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Greetings, and yet again, greetings, everyone. You already know who it is, but in case you need a slight reminder, it's your gay best friend, your good Judy, your next-door neighbor, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your gunkle, your author, radio show host, all of the things, Norman J. Liverpool IV, and I'm so excited to come to you with another edition of What's the LGBT right here on Hot 702.5 FM here in Las Vegas. Listen, I'm really excited about this guest today, and it's super meaningful for me because when the show originally started 2 years ago, my special guest today was one of our original guests on a couple of episodes, and so it's really nice to have that special guest back. So make sure you get your cocktails, mocktails, water, whatever you got, and come on in and join us. So first, we want to definitely shout out our sponsors. We want to shout out Ponita's Kitchen. You guys know I talk about Ponita's Kitchen every single week. We just had some amazing lamb shanks she did for us today before yesterday. She has everything you need, and the food is delicious. Follow her on Facebook and Instagram at Ponita's Kitchen. That's PONITA''S Kitchen for daily menus. They offer pickup and delivery, and you can custom order your meal. But right now, Chef Ponita really needs our help because she's up for the Greatest Baker contest. So if you go to greatestbaker.com/2022/Ponita Moore, you can do a free entry. And if you screenshot your entry to the kitchen at 702-480-8558, you'll be entered into a drawing for a half pan of peach cobbler, which, listen, I know I'm going to have me a couple pans for my Thanksgiving. So what a better way to go ahead and get that. So you'll go to greatestbaker.com, look up Ponita Moore, cast your vote, screenshot it to 702-480-8558 to be entered into the drawing. So I want to talk to you real quick about some things that were exciting for me that I did last weekend. So I had the opportunity to attend Women's and Things. It's a one-woman show, multi-character cabaret with musical accompaniment starring Mimi Von Schack. So they had it at a theater downtown, and it was a really, really small theater, but the show was amazing. So Mimi literally portrays different women in history as well as figurative and literal things. But the one that really sent me was she did a monologue of the biblical woman Mary Magdalene. And to me, that sent me because it was like in 2022. So she was like, go off, King of Kings, like do your thing. Like it was so crazy. So she came here for one day, one night only after selling out in LA and New York. So go on Instagram and follow her at Mimi, Vonschak, VONSCHACK. I'm telling you, you wanna connect with her. She's an amazing, amazing talent. And finally, if you guys remember, several months ago, I told you that I started the book Finding Me by Viola Davis. Well, I finally finished it. It only took me 6 months to finish. The first half was really, really good. The second half was really good too, but the chapters were long, and so I had to break that bad boy up. So finally finished that. So if you are looking for a new book to read, I highly, highly recommend Finding Me by Viola Davis. Don't forget, you can call us live at 702-551-5261. Sound off in the comments. You can message me, get in the comments. We want your likes, your hearts, your stars, all of that good stuff. And take a moment and share. Also, make sure that you download the app, the Hot 7025 app on Apple and Google, and set the timer for every Saturday at 3 p.m. so you never miss another edition of What's the LGBT. So today, y'all, I am so excited to welcome our special guest. So back in 2020, a lot of us were at home, right? Like I know I was at home, shelter in place, different work schedules, but this person was not. This person was on the front lines, and not only were they on the front lines, they were providing education for us in a way that was fun and relatable. So today's guest is TikTok's butt stuff doctor, Dr. Carlton. So sex education often leaves queer people out, which leads to knowledge gaps within the community. But Dr. Carlton Thomas, who is a Mayo Clinic-trained gastroenterologist, is seeking to change that with his sex-positive social media platform on TikTok and Instagram. And he was just named Out Magazine's Out 100 for 2022. So without further ado, please welcome to my virtual stage, Dr. Carlton.
Thank you, Norman. It's so wonderful to be here. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't believe that we're doing this again in a totally different setting, too.
Right. I mean, a lot has changed. I mean, right when I started chit-chatting with you, it was mostly about things like just me talking about sexual health and good things that you could do to make sex better and things that the community needed. And because I had that platform and it slowly built over time, when everything happened this summer with the monkeypox epidemic, it really became a central source for our community. And it was completely unplanned, completely fell into it. But I was happy to take the role and do everything I could to help educate people, get people vaccinated, get people treatment, and get people educated on how to prevent these infections. And the most rewarding thing out of all of it is that infections are down 90% from the peak from where they were. So it feels really worthwhile to have done everything I did this summer. And, this Out 100 thing that just came out is just the icing on the cake.
Listen, so for those of you who are not familiar with Dr. Carlton, he has videos on TikTok and Instagram about PrEP, PEP, Doxy Prep, STIs. But one of the favorite videos that I have, or one of my favorite pieces of content, was the butt clock. That I think that kind of went viral all over the place. So talk to us a little bit about the butt clock.
Yeah, when I was in medical school, to learn to do proper rectal examinations, I kind of figured out this trick where if you think of the anal canal as a circle, like a clock, if you go in and stick your finger in and press it over laterally to 9 o'clock and hold it for 30 seconds or so, your anal sphincter starts loosening up and opening up. And when that happens, things relax. So you move over to the different clock positions, 3, 6, 9, 12. And over time, it's like a little key unlocking your butthole to allow for anal play. So it's really remarkable how well it's gone over. I've had people from all over the world tell me that it's changed their sex life, that they're able to have anal sex now, that their husbands are happy, that their wives are happy, that they are happy. And that is really, really fulfilling for me. And then I've even had other people say, hey, just so you know, this butt clock thing is going around. And it's a thing because I was hooking up with this guy the other day, and I didn't tell him, but he started playing with my hole, started licking it a little bit, and he totally butt clocked me after that. And
I love it.
And I said, oh, okay, all right, cool.
I love it. And I think one of the things that it was so profound to me is that there really was no other place to get this type of education, and I like that you
Right.
made it fun and interesting for us to look at.
Right. Yeah. I think that's true. It's like I never got, I barely got sex education in school. I went to school in South Carolina. I sure as hell didn't get gay sex education. Nobody ever talked about anal sex. Nobody talked about anything really. So, for me, it was important to fill those gaps for people who never got that education because there's a lot that people don't know. I mean, I've had people. My platform is so big, and I entertain questions from all over the world. I had a couple not too long ago ask me, "Hey, we're both monogamous. We're virgins before we met each other. Now we exclusively have sex with each other. Should we go on prep?" And I'm like, "Well, why would you go on prep?" So, and they said, "Because we don't want to get HIV." And I'm like, "You don't create HIV through gay sex. It's a virus that's spread from one person to another." And just that simple, something that simple, some people don't even know about. So.
And to quote you from Out magazine, it says, "I feel like no one really got queer health and sex education in school, and there's so much we all need to know." So what in you prompted you to say, "I need to use my platform," or maybe even before you had the platform, but I need to get this information out? What was it that prompted that?
Well, I think one of the early experiences I had in my life, back in the 90s when things were a little more scary with HIV, I had to get an HIV test, or I chose to get an HIV test at my student health clinic because I had a new boyfriend and I wanted to make sure that I was HIV. I knew my HIV status so that we could plan around sex based on that. I just thought it was a respectful thing to do, so I could know my status and he could know my status. And the student health nurse just absolutely slut shamed me for this. What do you think this is? Do you think this is some sort of county health clinic? You really shouldn't be doing things like this, and just completely sex negative, completely homophobic. And I realized that a lot of other people have had similar experiences, and I wanted to erase those experiences and replace them with good, sex positive, healthy learning.
Okay. And I love that. I love it. So, for those of you that are just tuning in, we are here on What's the LGBT? We're chatting with Dr. Carlton, who is our TikTok butt stuff doctor. He's a gastroenterologist, and he's here chatting with us. He was recently named Out Magazine's Out 100 for 2022. So, Dr. Carlton, for those of our listeners and viewers that might want to know, how did you get into gastroenterology?
It was a field of medicine that when I was going through training, I realized that I could use a lot of the skills that I had from playing video games as a kid, to have fun with a job that helps prevent cancer and detect cancer. It affects a wide range of people from 18 to 100 in adult medicine for what I do. There's a lot of variety, and I just think that it's just something I enjoy. The procedures are, like I say, like playing games, but with higher stakes. Um, and we all have our area of expertise, and that just happened to be mine.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're definitely grateful that you did that and that you continue to share your wealth of knowledge with us. So, talk to us a little bit about how, especially now that you have created this platform, you are traveling, you're going all over, to really promote sex positivity, to educate us. How do you balance work, life, and family?
That's a tough thing that I've barely been holding on to. I have two 17-year-old children. Luckily, them being 17 helps a lot because they kind of live in their own little world. They drive now. They have their own friend circle. I don't exist, except for needing the ATM.
I was going to say money.
Money, food, and a ride, but usually not even a ride because they can drive. Um, the I was very lucky this summer with the whole monkeypox epidemic and all the work that I did with that. My husband was very, very understanding and realized that, hey, this is about the community. This is about all of us. This isn't just about me. And I'm going to let him do what he needs to do to get through it all. Um, so it's every minute is full, from waking up and creating content for Instagram or TikTok, to going to work, getting back from work, doing podcasts, doing radio shows, magazine articles, live appearances. I just was in Palm Springs this past weekend. I did their Pride, and
How was that?
it was a lot of fun. Palm Springs Pride is pretty much my crowd. If if ever I was going to walk out and about in public and get recognized, it was going to be a Palm Springs Pride, because I have a lot of fans that follow me that live out here. And there were people from all over the world at Palm Springs Pride. It was really crowded. It was a great, fun time. I didn't hear about any sort of negative interactions from people. I gave my sexual health talk on Saturday, and otherwise was able to go out and go to bars and stuff. And a lot of people recognize me, and that's really cool. And it's something I've also had to get used to that I didn't before. Nobody knew who the hell I was before, so I could kind of do whatever I wanted. And now if I go out and about, I'm guaranteed about 5 or 10 people are going to know who I am, or want a picture, or come talk to me, or something like that, which has its pluses and minuses. It's cool to be recognized, but at other points too, you have to realize that whatever you do, people are going to be watching. So
right, it seems like that would be a huge adjustment.
It is a huge adjustment, and it's been an adjustment in our relationship too, because certainly my husband and I have never had to deal with this before. When I went to Bear Week in Provincetown last year, I'd walk down the street, and every 5 or 10 feet, people would stop me and want to talk. And the first 5 or 6, he was really, really, enamored with it and happy with it. And then it got old for him. It never gets old for me, but it got old for him.
How do your kids relate or react to this sort of sudden kind of celebrity?
They never really saw that part of it until we were in we were in New York to look at colleges for them. And we're walking down the street, and somebody recognized me from social media and came over and made a big deal and wanted pictures and everything like that. So that they kind of suddenly realized, oh, okay, this guy, he's a bigger deal than we thought. A lot of kids don't really want to pay their parents any attention. And then my daughter did a month of theater classes in New York City at NYU this summer, and they had to go around the classroom and tell something interesting about their family. And she said, well, my dad's a social media star. And it being New York and theater, the guys in the classroom said, oh, well, who's your dad? And as soon as she said Dr. Carlton, she said all the bottoms in the room gasped.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can imagine that.
There's this big gay gasp. She goes, Dad, all the bottoms at NYU follow you. And so I was like, oh, well, I hope that doesn't bother you, honey. Did that embarrass you? She goes, no, hell no. No, I love that.
I think that is so cool. So talk to me about what this experience when you were named Out Magazine's Out 100. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about how you felt to receive that after your, all of the work that you've been doing in our community.
Well, I honestly, during the monkeypox epidemic, I got a lot of negative feedback from people because I was really honest about how it was being spread. That it was mostly being sexually spread, and a lot of people did not want to hear that. They did not want to hear that they should alter or consider altering their sexual behavior for the short term until they could get vaccinated. And so while a lot of people were grateful at accurate information, there were a few people out there who really were trashing me, like, oh, you are dangerous. You're dangerous for our community. People shouldn't listen to you. And I remember blocking this one guy who told me that. And then I went on my Twitter, and he found me on Twitter and says, you can try to block me on Instagram, but I'm still going to hunt you down and find you and tell you what how dangerous you are for our community. And then I opened up my email, and my first email was from Out Magazine telling me that I had made this Out 100. And I just burst into tears. I was like, after all this work, being up all night, getting up early in the morning, answering 150 messages a day, calling people, getting people connected with their TPOXX and with their vaccines. And all that was for free. I didn't get a dime on any of that. And then to also have been criticized about maybe I didn't do it right. When Out Magazine came out and said, okay, no, we really think you're awesome, and we want to name you as one of these top 100 LGBTQ people in the United States this year. That really, I never, it's something I never pictured. I've always seen that magazine and that list and thought, oh man, I'd love to be on that list one day. That would be awesome,
Right,
but never
right.
really pictured it happening. So when it actually happened, it really blew me away.
Well, I just want to say, just from what I know of you and our interactions and being able to kind of connect with you, I'm super happy for you. I'm super
Thank
proud of
you.
you. Anytime I see anything that you're doing, I'm just like, it kind of warms my heart because we were all kind of in this weird space together. And
Hmm.
one of the things that really helped me get through a lot of that was your videos. Even if it wasn't necessarily something that was pertaining to me, it was cool to watch your videos and to laugh and to engage with your content.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that was part of my own surviving the pandemic, especially during that period of time where we were pretty much locked in and couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
For my mental health and my physical health, it was a great thing to do.
So, in the article, it says the biggest achievement so far this year has been seeing those case numbers drop, Thomas says. I feel like my work is an example of the good that social media can do in this world and the difference that one person can make. So, in the beginning of the show, at the top of the hour, you told us that the rates have been coming down, which we love to see that and we love to hear. But
Hmm.
what should we still be doing today? I think sometimes like when we hear like the numbers come down, we kind of get a little relaxed. But what should we be doing today to protect ourselves and others?
Well, it's still out there. And even here in San Diego, in the gay neighborhood of San Diego, I had a guy message me the other day and say, hey, I think I've got monkeypox. And I'm like, well, you're vaccinated, right? And he goes, no. And I'm like, well, how on earth could you not be vaccinated at this? Vaccines are so available now that there's no excuse not to get vaccinated. So making sure you get those two shots is really, really important. Um, yes, the numbers are down, but they still are out there. The thing that I find most disturbing out of everything is the rates of infection are higher percentage wise in African American and Latino folks. And the vaccination rates are much lower in those communities. And it's it's an inequity that I pointed out pretty early on, and luckily the White House has made some efforts to start correcting that by trying to put education and vaccination points in areas where people of color might be. But still, to this day, more than two-thirds of new cases are in African American and Latino um, men who have sex with men.
Wow, wow,
So I think
and
reaching out to the queer people of color community is still something we've got to get better at when it comes to preventive healthcare.
yeah, and what do you think contributes to that? Obviously, there's the education piece that you mentioned, and you talked about making things more accessible. But beyond that, why do you think that the numbers reflect that in those communities?
It's something I've really struggled to try to also understand, and I've reached out a lot. The Black AIDS Coalition and I worked together a little bit this summer to try to make some adjustments on how to get that information out. And the higher level folks there, they kind of pointed out to me that there's a number of factors. You got to go back to even as far as the Tuskegee experiments in the you know in the 1900s that related to African Americans getting injected with syphilis, and so there's this distrust of the medical community that still is instilled in a lot of African American folks just from that, which is understandable. There's an income and education disparity a lot of times as well. There's an access to healthcare and health insurance disparity as well, and there's also a certain segment of the community that's more on the down low and doesn't want to have walk around with a monkeypox scar on their arm from where they got a monkeypox vaccine. They don't want people to know they're out. It's harder to be out. And so all those factors together kind of combine to lower vaccination rates and higher incidence of infection.
Wow. Well, I definitely appreciate, all the work that you're doing, and especially in getting the word out. Especially at the height of all of this, I would go onto your Instagram story and you were posting vaccination locations all around the world, to show people, that, okay, yeah, it's available here. This is what you need to do. Do you feel that, where you are now on your platform, that this is the weight of the responsibility that you have to carry?
It certainly felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders this summer. It felt like nobody else was really stepping up, so I felt like I had to. I had the platform, I had the time, and I wanted to make sure that our community was taken care of. I love our community. I also am a gay man who loves to have sex, and I wanted to be able to get back to where things were a couple of years ago, where we could do that without having to worry about getting a new disease.
And I like that you said that you're a gay man that likes to have sex. So let's go there for a minute. I think that a lot of, especially since figures like you have come out, I think that the language and the conversation around sex and slut shaming and sex positivity, I think that we're talking about that more. What is your take on that? Do you feel that we're progressing in there? What is the work that we need to do to keep that going?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's steps towards sex positivity. There's a lot that needs to be done still. I mean, you look at Instagram, and if a guy gets on there in a jock strap, if he shows the back of the jock strap with a butt hanging out, that's fine. But if they show the front and you can see any sort of penis outline at all, and it just through the underwear, they get banned off of Instagram. And so this kind of homophobic and sex negative platform that Instagram and TikTok kind of have, that's not helpful. But definitely with more and more people talking about sex and the realities of sex and harm reduction, I think it really, people start listening when you talk about reality and when you talk about harm reduction, and you don't preach 100% of the time, oh, you have to use a condom every time, or you have to be monogamous. I come from a standpoint where, okay, the reality is a lot of people aren't using condoms. The reality is a lot of people are having sex with a lot of people. So here are the ways that you can still do those things and protect yourself to a degree, not to the degree that condoms and monogamous sex would, but there are some steps that you can take to reduce harm.
Oh, I don't. Okay, so we have a comment that says, I don't think the print situation on social media is a gay thing. Straight men get banned for the same issue. Okay, well, we appreciate that. I'll tell you like this. I see a lot of people getting banned for all kinds of things, but I've read a couple of articles, and I have seen that some people that have, a lot of followers or bigger platforms, they have said exactly what you've said, Dr. Carlton, that they find that a lot of their content is being blocked, banned, all of that kind of thing. What do you think that it would take for us to move the dial on that? To be like, okay, this is 2023 damn near. What do you think is going to take to move the dial on those things?
Yeah, that's pretty difficult with our country being kind of, if you look at every election, it seems like everything is 50.1% for this party and 49.9% for this party. So there's this big, huge divide between a more liberal and a more conservative attitude when it comes to a lot of things. So as long as there are a loud minority, or a loud even majority of people out there making noise about things like trans rights and sexuality and drag queens and story hours and all that kind of other stuff, there's going to be so much pressure against these platforms to not allow it, that it's pretty tough. And from their standpoint of things as well, I think that they have to, there's so many people that send in complaints that at some point they just, if somebody's platform gets 1 million complaints, they just go ahead and ban them and don't even really read it to see what's really happening. So if somebody has it out for you, you're gone.
Right. Yeah. And it's scary, especially when, especially a lot of us use social media for a variety of things. So to be able to be banned or blocked, it's crazy that we even have to think about that kind of level of censorship in today's society. One of the things that really stood out to me, Dr. Carlton, and I can't remember if this was on your Instagram or TikTok, but you had mentioned about people from other countries that have reached out to you in your DMs who have, reached out to you discreetly and confidentially because maybe where they live, being gay is condemned. Talk to us a little bit about that and what you're seeing with some of the situations in those other countries.
That's a great point that I'm glad you brought up because not everywhere has the same rights that we do. I mean, we are having a lot our own battles right now in a lot of areas, but in
Yeah.
general, we're able to have pride parades, we're able to go to gay bars, we're able to have sex without worry of prosecution. But in places like Saudi Arabia, Iran, some communities in Africa, in India, Southeast Asia, even there are a lot of countries that even punish gay sex with death. Especially like Saudi Arabia, Iran. You could be executed for being gay there. And so I think one of the things that struck me the most was this guy from Saudi Arabia sent me a message and said, "Hey, there's something going on with my butthole and I am gay and I have gay sex. And if it's an STI and I go to the doctor with an STI in my butthole, he's going to know I'm gay and I risk being executed. So I need your help." And I said, "Well, the only thing I can think of is because I can't go to Saudi Arabia and look at you. Why don't you send me a picture on DM that vanishes so that we can protect your privacy? And I'll take a look at it and let you know what I think. And you can go from there." And he sent me the picture and I said, "Oh, that's just a hemorrhoid. This is how you take care of that." And to take the burden and the worry of the weight of potentially being executed off of someone's shoulders just from that simple action made me really appreciate the simple freedoms that we have here.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And I remember reading that, or when you shared that, it really kind of checked me. And like about we find it sometimes so easy to complain about things, and then when you shared that, I was like, wow, that I think sometimes we forget that in other places that, like you said, you can be put to death for living in your truth.
Right.
And that's really, really scary. That's really, really
Right.
scary. So talk to us about what you have coming down the pipeline, Dr. Carlton. What's coming up? What's going on? Give us all the good tea.
Well, on Wednesday night, the Out 100 formal party is at Nebula in New York City. So I'm taking a red eye after work on Tuesday to fly up for that once in a lifetime thing. And other people that are in the Out 100 are like the Old Gays and Jinx Monsoon and Andrew Christian and Kimchi and Jeopardy Amy from the trans woman who was dominating Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm hoping a lot of those folks will be there, and it's my first ever red carpet. So I'm a little nervous about that, about looking like I fit in, but I think I've got an outfit put together that'll look good. And then in the end of November, I'm in Los Angeles at the Los Angeles Leather Getaway for Claw Los Angeles. So I will be teaching a weekend-long seminar. I have there's all kinds of teachers from all over the country coming to teach different things, but I'm doing a butt stuff seminar and I'm doing a queer health seminar at Claw LA, and that's in Los Angeles the weekend of Thanksgiving. And then my next formal thing after that is Austin Kink Weekend in April of 2023. So I have a little space there to do some other things.
I love it. I love it. And I can't wait to see your outfit because you always put together such lovely outfits. I love the shoes that you always pair with it too. So, I'm just reading a little bit more about you, and it says you lend your expertise on aspects of how to have great anal sex, including dieting, douching, lubrication, and relaxing. So, what is the key to great anal sex?
Well, I think all those things play a big role. Number one, making sure that you are prepared for anal sex. Quite frankly, if I'm going to have anal sex and something's going to go in my butt, the last thing I want is it to be full of poop. So
Right.
I like to be clean. I like to have the room in there. I don't want the smell. I don't want the mess. Now, stuff happens, and that's human and normal. But anything I can do to try to make things go a little better definitely helps a lot. Fiber is a real key. Doing fiber supplements twice a day really reduces your clean out time. So once you do flush out, you only flush out with the amount of water that you need. Don't go crazy with it. Going too crazy with it prolongs the whole thing. Water goes up higher. It just makes a big mess. So just remember, you only have to get those last 8 inches or so clean, because usually nothing's going up much higher than that. So being prepared for it, being lubricated for it properly, and then being relaxed enough, because the last thing you want to do when you're having anal sex is to get torn back there. If someone just rams it in without letting you warm up, you could tear your anal sphincter, and that's called an anal fissure. And anal fissures can put you out of commission for months and can even require surgery. So making sure that you do all those things, get lubed up, relaxed. I tell bottoms, hey, start sitting down on it from the top. Breathe, push out as it goes in, lubricate really well. Make eye contact so that you can communicate what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Switch up positions. If it feels like he's hitting a wall, he probably is. So change it up a little bit.
Okay, I love that. So speaking about, and it's something that just came to my mind, so I want to switch gears a little bit. So a lot of people like me are not lucky enough to have a Dr. Carlton here. So what are some of the things that our listeners or viewers can look for, or questions to ask when, because some of this can be embarrassing, especially for someone who's not gay or someone who doesn't have experience dealing with gay men. So what are some questions that we should be asking, or things that we should be looking for when we're going and choosing doctors? Or just to open up that ease of communication?
Well, I think, first of all, talk to your friends who are in your similar boat to see who their doctors are and see who they're happy with and see who they can communicate with freely. There is a website, the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association, glma.org, that helps you locate by zip code a doctor that is close to you, that is comfortable with gay and lesbian issues and trans issues. So that's helpful. But the main things is making sure that you can be honest and open and communicate with your doctor. Tell them what you do. Tell them, make sure that your vaccinations are up to date. Make sure you've had your monkeypox vaccines, your HPV, your hepatitis A and B, your meningitis vaccines. Make sure those are all up to date. When you go for STI testing, it's important to get checked where you play, because gonorrhea and chlamydia infections are only going to show up where you are infected. So if you just use a urine test for a gonorrhea and chlamydia test, which is what most straight doctors do, if you have infection in your throat or your butt, it might get missed. So you make sure that you're getting your throat swabbed if you perform oral. If you have anal sex, make sure that you get your butt swabbed to check for gonorrhea and chlamydia. If know your HIV status. If you're negative, go on PrEP to prevent HIV if you have risk factors. If you are positive, make sure you get treated to undetectable status, because once undetectable, you can't pass the virus through sex. You also will live a long, normal, healthy life if you reach undetectable status and stay that way. So that's why knowing your status is so important, so that you can get early treatment, because early detection leads to early treatment, which leads to better outcomes. So, and then the other things that you can talk about are the STI testing timings. There's new data out now that shows that there's a pill called doxycycline that you can take within 24 to 72 hours after a high-risk exposure. So if you go to the bathhouse and have a wild weekend, you could take 2 pills of doxycycline and reduce your risk of syphilis and chlamydia by 72%. So there's all these things that are out there that are happening that people need to know about so that they can protect themselves. And obviously, condoms are great. If you use condoms, you're going to reduce your risk for HIV, for all STIs. That's great. But if you don't use condoms a lot or all the time, these other things are really crucial for you to be on top of.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love that, again, you're sharing more information, more knowledge about this doxy. Can you pronounce that again for us?
Doxycycline. It's doxycycline. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
doxypep.
Yeah, so there was a new study, and really, I should have spent more time on it this summer, but we were so flooded with the monkeypox thing. The last thing I wanted to do was say, "Hey, if go out and have unprotected sex, I wanted to focus
Right.
more on the monkeypox thing." But right into all that, this summer there was a big AIDS conference, and the data was presented at the AIDS conference. So there was a study out of UCSF and Washington that basically showed that there was such a dramatic effect on the study arm, the people who were receiving the medication, that they terminated the study early because so many people were having a better outcome taking the medication.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, so and it is controversial. Not every doctor does it. It's on the CDC STI treatment option page, but there is still some concern that there could be a resistance that may build up because of frequent use of antibiotics. It's kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people right now. There's not an official recommendation from the CDC, but there's an observation saying, hey, this is happening, and a lot of people are doing it. And I know a lot of high-level official doctors in America who are using it on their patients who just aren't really talking about it.
Wow. So, and the reason for them not talking about it is just because it is so controversial, or
Yeah.
what is the reason for that?
Yeah, and people in their position, it's because it's controversial and they don't want to they're very cautious with going against stuff that's actual policy. This stuff is so cutting edge that not everybody's doing it, and so they don't want
Got
to
it.
look like they're against the grain.
Got it. Got it. So let's talk to you a little bit about the fun side of the social media. Talk to me a little bit about what is the funnest part for you when you're creating your content.
The funnest part for me is when people respond and have questions about it, or say, "Oh my God, I was just thinking about that. I wondered about that. Thank you for making this video." The positive feedback that I get from a lot of people is the best part. Just that, oh gosh, somebody explained it to me that way. I understand this. That's really rewarding. It feels like what I'm doing is a good thing. And actually, I ran into somebody from Instagram in Palm Springs this weekend who said, "Hey, I'm partly in charge of Reels on Instagram, and I get a lot of grief from all the guys shaking around their junk in their underwear, or the girls shaking around their boobs in their bikini on these Instagram Reels. But then I come across Reels like yours, and they're so informative and educational that it makes me happy that content like yours is out there. And I feel like what my job is serving a purpose by getting this information out to people. So that's really rewarding when people say stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. The way that you have found the kind of the concept of merging education with humor and education with real life has been really amazing. Why do you feel that you were able to kind of merge those two lanes together?
Well, I think the most important thing is that you realize that that everybody's got a butt, and to try to make it a less serious situation where you just kind of take out the worry from it. You make it normal, you normalize it. And I think that's really the most important thing, is to make it fun, to make it interactive, to make it not so technical, to make it simpler. All those things kind of come together to make to make my videos a little more where people kind of understand it. And honestly, on top of all this educational stuff, I'm going out and going to the bar in a harness and and short shorts and a leather hat or whatever, and people see that I'm not just some guy in a doctor's outfit talking. I'm actually out there just like you, enjoying my life and having fun. And so when that information comes from someone like me, I think it's better accepted from people because they see that I'm one of them.
So talk to that point. How important is it that you are coming off and you are genuinely being relatable to the people that you're educating?
Well, I think it's really important and really key. The connection is really it brings a certain level of trust, so that people, will listen to me and understand the importance of the simple things that they can do to make their lives better. If I get out there and educate people on how to reduce STIs and STIs go down, that's great for society. It's not just for my audience, but for society
Right.
in general. It makes a positive impact.
Yeah, totally. For those of you that are just tuning in, you're going to have to catch us on the replay because we're getting ready to wind down. But we are here with Dr. Carlton. He was recently named Out Magazine's Out 100 for 2022. And we're just here chatting all things butt stuff. Make sure you follow Dr. Carlton on Instagram at Dr. Carlton. And really quick, as we get ready to wind down, I do want to just shout out our sponsors once again. Ponita's Kitchen. Don't forget, she needs y'all to go to greatestbaker.com/2022. Search for Ponita Moore and give her your vote. Once you do that, screenshot your entry to 702-480-8558 to be entered into a drawing for a half pan of peach cobbler that's here in Las Vegas. Also, we want to thank Rosie's Cleaning Services. Rosie's Cleaning Services, your one-stop shop for all of your cleaning and janitorial needs. They specialize in commercial and residential cleaning, and they're currently accepting new clients for the month of December. So if you're interested to learn more, you can reach them by calling or texting 702-767-1116, or you can follow them on social at Rosie's Cleaning LV. So, Dr. Carlton, we're coming to the kind of the part of the show where I like to give you the floor and just really speak to the audience, whether that's some advice, some tips. I just want to open the floor and give you access to our audience so that we can get your message out.
Great. I really appreciate that. So I think when it comes to sexual health, like we had talked about earlier, know your HIV status. That's the first most important thing that you could do. Because if you have risk factors for HIV, it is so preventable with PrEP these days. And there's so many different forms of PrEP, between daily pills to on-demand pills to injectables that last for 2 months, that you can effectively prevent HIV. And if you are positive, you can live a completely normal life if you get on early treatment. And then the other point I want to make about that, especially in our community, there's a lot of people who discriminate against people who are HIV positive when it comes to sex. And if someone is HIV positive and undetectable, they can't pass the virus through sex. And a lot of people that I know have told me that they block people who are HIV positive when it comes to social media apps. And I tell them that's so ridiculous. You could be blocking the person who is the man of your dreams over something that's really even irrelevant now when it comes to treatment for HIV. Get tested for STIs, get checked where you play. Make sure that if you put it in your butt or your mouth, that you get your butt or your throat swabbed for gonorrhea and chlamydia. And that goes for anyone who has that type of sex, not just men who have sex with men. Enjoy sex, explore your body, life is short. We don't have a guarantee. Explore your sexuality, talk about your sexuality with your partner. There's a lot of different kinds of relationships out there, from monogamy to complete polyamory. All those things are valid, but never feel pressured to behave a certain way, but behave the way that you feel that makes you the most fulfilled. It's your choice, your body. Explore it. Everybody, like I said, everybody's got a butt. Pay your butt some attention sometime. There's a lot of good nerve fibers back there.
Well, we love it. And then would you tell the audience again, I did say, give your Instagram, but how can we connect with you on social?
Instagram and TikTok at Dr. Carlton, all spelled out DoctorCarlton. And then my Twitter is Dr._Carlton. My Instagram DMs are probably the best way to reach me. I answer all of my questions there. And feel free to ask anything without judgment or shame.
Well, awesome. Well, Dr. Carlton, I want to thank you personally for being on the show. It's awesome to reconnect, and it's really a full circle moment because you were one of my very first guests when I was kind of doing this in my living room, and so to kind of see how this, full circle moment has come about has been really, really cool. So we want to thank Dr. Carlton for joining us today. Make sure you follow him on social at Dr. Carlton. Don't forget this Wednesday he will be for the Out 100 NYC event, red carpet. We want to see pictures, Dr. Carlton, so make sure you put those up. If you're in Austin next year, he'll be at Austin Kink. And then for Thanksgiving weekend, he will be at Claw, LA. So again, we want to thank you, Dr. Carlton, for being on. Again, my name is Norman, and you already know who it is. So we will see you next week with our another special guest, Cecilia Ray, who was found on Instagram ranting about Roe versus Wade and made it all the way to the Dr. Phil show. So we're going to talk to her next week about that whole experience. So don't miss another edition of What's the LGBT right here on Hot 702.5 every Saturday at 3 p.m. Bye.